Listen, it's not every day we get to have a guest on who happens to be the only man in this universe that is responsible for me getting a custom tailored pair of jeans.
This is Auto Collabs.
I mean,
So strong.
Talk to me about fit. Yes. Do they fit different than a store-bought pair of jeans? Like, what do you know?
It depends on the store. Because sometimes, I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes I can find an amazing fit off the rack. But this was
it's helpful that you're like 6'1", average white middle-aged dude. You know,
I walk into a store. I'm like, got any 38 12s?
He's like, and even then, I'm going to need a pair of scissors and some hemming thread. Right.
I'm guessing that our guest today, that Alan probably needs custom fitted almost every time because the guy's like 83 feet tall.
It's like athlete. He's got
string bean.
Dude, he's got athlete vibes. No, he's got athlete vibes. Always walking around in the Jordans. Like, I'm like, you used to be able to dunk on some people, haven't you?
That's for sure.
Maybe we should get to the bottom of it. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's bring him in. Hope you enjoy this episode with Alain Nana-Sinkam. Let's go.
Alan, so great to have you back on Auto Collabs today. Welcome.
I enjoy our conversations so much. So when the opportunity came up, I was very excited to rejoin you.
So I love whenever we get to talk to somebody who has like legit OG roots in the industry. And you started as a lot attendant, which is, the entry. I don't know. Is there another entry level position that goes before lot attendant? Anybody?
There's not a position that is more exposed to the whole dealership at such an entry level than the porter and the lot attendant.
That Kyle always says that. We'll walk in a dealership. He's like, "You want to know what's really going on around here? Go
find a porter, put him in a golf cart for an hour with you, and
bring him a cheeseburger, and you're gonna find it all
everything.
You know all the things you ever did want to know and didn't want to know about what's going on, who's with who, where you go for the real answers. But I think that experience is really what informs your entire understanding of the industry when you start there, because you start there with little respect, little knowledge, little understanding, and very quickly people rely on you to get them things.
Absolutely. And you get to see the end of the transaction, probably the happiest moment in our industry.
Oh, that's cool.
The car goes over the curb, and you learn so much about the process and what's valued, and busy Saturdays where we're going to sell 17 or 20 cars, and we don't want to be the log jam or the the bottleneck in the whole process.
What's the first? This could go wrong. We asked a question on a podcast a few podcasts ago, and we were like, we wish we didn't ask that question. But what was the first thing that you found out as a lot attendant where you were like, oh, that's how it really works? Yeah, I might have gotten myself in trouble with that one. Maybe I don't want you to answer that. Michael's like, Michael, if you're not watching, he's like, yeah, pull up, Luke.
Well, I will tell you that I started at Jerry's Ford in Annandale, Virginia. And Jerry's Ford was one of the first dealerships in the country to get a Yugo franchise.
And one of the first to get rid of it.
Wow. And probably one of the first to get rid of it. And those cars were not ready for the public when they first got here. Absolutely. So I think exposed to a brand new car, or a quote brand new car that went over the curb with some deficiencies, I learned about what a WIO was and how that figures into the process.
Now you were telling us beforehand that your roots actually go maybe a bit deeper than just the lot attendant thing, and I think you have. Nathan told us that you have a little photo, you got a little show and tell for those that are watching this on video. Is that right?
This is the first.
Look at that.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So a couple things to observe here. Obviously,
explain what we're seeing, Kyle, because the people who are just listening, what are we looking at?
No, Alan is about to do a way better job at that. He was like a couple things to observe. Hit us with it. Okay. Give us the detailed explanation of what we got going on.
I'm 4 years old. In my bedroom. This is a picture of me sitting on the floor, and the people who aren't watching won't realize that that full head of hair was not
gorgeous.
Was
looks
beautiful.
Great.
Oh, fantastic! I had the pick and everything, man. My
you got the
afro
quintessential ringer tee on, white shirt with a green ring around the neck and the sleeves, some jeans, bare feet, sitting on a hardwood floor.
So all my Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars are all laid out in a row, and they're organized by different types. And my mother tells me that she came in and she asked me what I was doing, and I looked up at her and I said, "This is my dealership."
Oh, I thought you were
And
practicing to be a lot attendant, but
no, this was my dealership, and I had all them. I had them organized by brand, Paul. They were all set up and ready to roll. So it runs deep with me, guys.
Where did that come from?
Wow.
Like, what made you at that age? Do you even remember at 4? Like, why did you want to have a dealership?
I was just always fascinated with cars, and my folks would get me Matchbox and Hot Wheels, and I would organize them by brand and I'd organize them by color, and I'd polish them up, and it just and on the way to the airport, my dad used to travel a lot when we were little. On the way to the airport, we would drive through the auto row in Herndon, Virginia. So I would always see all the cars parked out so nicely. And I was trying to replicate that in my bedroom.
I don't know how else to say.
Well, so I got to jump in on this because I'm so fascinated right now, Alan. I've had a shtick for a while when it comes to marketing and dealership marketing, where I'm like, can we stop telling people the thing they already know that we do? Like my shtick was at the time, my 6-year-old knows what a car dealership does. And if I ask them what a car dealership, they'll be like, Dad, don't ask stupid questions. You are now the proof point to this shtick I've had for years, which as a 4-year-old,
you can lower the age to 4 now.
You knew that they had to be lined up, they had to be merchandised, they needed to be detailed. You knew what needed to be done. And now do you think in some way, like, do you look back on that photo and go, man, did I ever call my calling forward?
It's like the video of Tiger Woods on the Tonight Show coming out and hitting the golf ball. And it's like, man, he really started early.
Michael, I love it because you don't think of people in this industry, like us being huge advocates for this industry, and that this is a great place to work. People can see the Tiger Woods photo that you're talking about, and they're like, oh, dang, that's awesome. But you might be the first person I've heard call forward, like, that was my moment that I'm going to be in this industry as a kid.
I even knew to take my aged units and put them up on the pool.
No way.
Here's what's interesting to this, to me about this, and it's kind of going to go along with Michael's deal, is do we not give the consumer public the credit that they're kind of due for what, like, working with a dealership or buying something? Like, a lot of times, in the industry, we're like, oh, they wouldn't know how to do that. Oh, they don't know about this. Like, is there more credit due to the car buyer, the car servicer, and the research they've done, the understanding of how we do business, what we do, things like that?
I think there's a real paradox going on. I think that consumers know what they like. They know what they want. Buying a car remains a very emotional purchase. I mean, we give our cars names. This is not always super spreadsheet rational decisions that we make when it comes to transportation. The piece that they're lacking is the detail that sits underneath that process. So to Michael's point, less about the nuts and bolts of what a dealership does that consumers tend to understand, and more about how dealers make this really complicated process so much easier and can remove the friction. Dealers are the only ones who can reliably remove the friction. And I say that as somebody who lives in the vendor space now, right? And trying to walk in and say, we can help you with this, we can help you with that. Dealers know how to remove the friction, and it's the biggest opportunity in our industry that sits in front of us right now.
Interesting.
This needs to go on a shirt. Reliably remove the friction. Have you ever heard of it in those terms? Has anybody? I've never heard that. Reliably.
Alan was you trademarked that just now.
That's the key word for me, is reliably. Like, we have this negative stigma, this cloud that looms over the industry at large not realizing that through that storm or that tumult, the dealer is the only one who can reliably remove the friction.
Unquestionably, because it requires, and this is why I'm such a big fan of what you all are doing more broadly, because you elevate how, I'm going to get a little misty right now, but you elevate how important what we do is to consumers, right? Transportation unlocks opportunity. People can take jobs that they couldn't take otherwise, move to places that they couldn't otherwise. And there's this whole industry, setting aside what it does for us as workers in it, right? To be able to have a living and make money and do all of those things. It really is an industry that can kind of call its own shot in terms of what's going to happen next and where it's going to go next. I think that's what excites me so much about it.
You know, if you've never, Alan, did you sold cars for a time?
I sold cars. Yep.
You would know this. You and me can reminisce on this. Poor Paul and Michael can't reminisce on this, but they'll know what I'm talking about because they maybe felt it as a consumer. But you just called out this thing that I don't think we key into enough in an industry, which is the existentialism of car buying, right? That the unlock of transportation access. Now, for some people, like for a very small few, maybe 2 to 3% of car buyers, it's just another checkbox. They bought 30 in the last 20 years. They just kind of buy cars on a whim. Doesn't really matter. But for probably 98% of car buyers, there's some sort of existentialism built into that. First car, growing family, new place, just moved, got a new job, right? The connection to life's moments and car buying and what we get to do as an industry is come alongside of them and usher them kind of like if you take the industry as a whole as this is like we get to usher people into life stages. That's a real reality.
Without it is the reason why I get so discouraged when we make ourselves small, when we make our industry small, and all we think about is profitability and who won the deal and these elements of the transaction, when the reality is we're doing something way more valuable to our society. And I know sometimes that can sound a little hokey, but I think we all are at varying stages in our life where we want to see meaning in what we do, and that is absolutely the meaning in what we do.
How do you connect that to like your daily work, the thing that you're doing right now, right? You run the OEM partnerships program with TrueCar. How do you, because I think some people would have trouble connecting that, right? Maybe there's salespeople out there that can really viscerally do that because they're connecting with people who are buying a car every single day. But it's like, this developer working on the WYSIWYG thing for the service scheduler, right? Like how in your role do you connect the meaning of the broader industry to, I have to, get an OEM signature today, or whatever that may be?
I'm all about the ecosystem and the opportunity to make this ecosystem better. The role that I play directly is with manufacturers who are trying to help consumers discover and ultimately put in their driveway the brand of choice. But when you zoom out a click and you look at our industry, everybody's a pro, with the exception of one entity, the consumer. Everybody else at that table is a pro at what they do. They do it all day, every day, multiple times, every single day. A consumer buys a car how often? Once every 5, 6, 7 years, sometimes longer than that.
Yeah.
Like, try to think of the things that you do once every 7 years. You stink at all of them. Because you just don't get the practice.
Dieting.
So to me,
terrible at dieting.
So to me, the opportunity is to help that person level up. And when they level up as an industry, we all benefit. And Kyle, I'll lean on you. You have sold a car to somebody who came in the door that said, I know what I want. I know what I want to pay. There's my trade. I need this much for it. I know where I want to finance. If you can do this, you have my business. As a salesperson in a dealership, I want that all day, every day. I take 25 of those people a day, and I would be in heaven. What do you get instead? You get, man, I don't know, pickup truck or sedan. Do you have a cosigner? Man, I don't know. What color? I don't know. Are you, it is a completely different experience. So from my, little part of the world, I'm trying to level up that consumer because I know we'll all benefit when it happens.
One of the things that has quickly become one of the biggest challenges, or I think one of the consumers have this already, like you just mentioned, they only do this every so many years. So they already come in with feeling like an insecurity about the process. One of the biggest areas of that is not what color car I want. It's often like, can I get this financed? You know what I mean? And that's an area that I think there's been a growing level of attention and sensitivity to that. Like, we're always talking about, like, affordability being a challenge, but we see more and more companies and more dealers, I think, leading the conversation with, talk tracks and tech tools and employee training that is more, I don't know, empathetic to it. Is that what you're seeing out there? I know it's like a passion of yours, financing specifically.
It's the next step for us as an industry. We have solved price transparency, and I think all dealers and everybody in the ecosystem recognizes that.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between price and cost. And the way that most consumers pay for cars has nothing to do with that 5-digit price. That is not how they think about it and ultimately live with it day in and day out.
Yep.
The problem is the four of us all get the same price. We don't experience the same cost. Paul might lease. Kyle wants to put no money down. Michael wants to do 84-month financing, and I want to do 48. That's where
That's because you're a baller, Alan. That's why. Yeah.
That's the next step for us. That's the next level for us, is to create the same level of ease and discovery, like you're talking about, Paul, around the cost of the car and not just the price of the car.
Gosh, I've never heard it like delineated that way. It's how much the car is.
Yeah, because you can't go online. You can't go online to a Reddit thread and be like, how much you pay a month. Right.
Yeah, right. Right. Because it'll be the same car and it'll be wildly different payments. And I think the default position is like, well, you got ripped off if you're paying more than someone else. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe you got a better deal, honestly. Wow. How are we doing that? Tell us, how are we doing that?
I know. I'm wrestling with this now. No. You're like, you're putting things in front of my face where I'm like, give me a week. I'll be right back.
Yeah, right. No, for real. Because you think about how how price transparency was this like seemingly insurmountable object back in the day. And now it's just like a norm, right? And technology did that for us, right? It brought transparency to both sides. But it's just it's a normal thing now. But the cost conversation is not a normal thing yet. We see a lot of mentioning of it. We see a lot of attempts to make it better.
Do you guys remember that old Auto Trader commercial that was based on The Matrix, where the guy came into the white room just like Neo and he said, I need a car, and the cars came in?
Yes, and they came in like, with like a lot of velocity. Yeah.
And he starts yelling out, a red one, a convertible, and they're changing as he's saying
going up and down. Yeah.
The modern equivalent of that, what's next, is that same person coming into that same room and they're saying, I'm 680, I have $2,000, and I need to be $400 a month. Go. And
I think somebody needs to make that commercial tomorrow.
Yeah. And then you pick the one, and now it's just cars that fit whatever you just said, and you pick the one that works best for you.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and especially right now when affordability is such a part of the matrix, we're seeing average car payments on new car loans, right, in the mid to high 700s. And a lot of people are asking the question, starting with budget first. And we don't really have, as an industry, we don't default to payment-based searching, right? We default to year, make, model, feature-based searching, right? And I think there's different, different providers moving to move that way. But I bet if we made it easier for consumers to inquire that way, it would be way more utilized.
And there's reasons for that. We've got to figure out, how do you incorporate protection into that, right? Again, Kyle, the worst thing you wanted to do is quote a payment out on the floor. Your finance manager would come out and
absolutely,
he'd want to have a discussion, because you've got to be able to educate the consumer about how to protect the asset and all the other things that you want to do. So, but we can solve for it. It's just a matter of identifying the blocks and helping the consumer
well, and on a super nerdy level, right? Real-time payment APIs that are fast and easy to use are not, not in like, there's not a plethora of them out there that you can just like go hit an API really quickly, have tax, title, license, fees, the whole 9 yards built in a penny perfect payment, and real time change it based on that person's thing on every single piece of the inventory. That's actually a really hard thing to do from a very technical level. So
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's rare that we have, like, I'm just going over this. I can't believe I didn't see this before. Honestly, like the way you put it, and even like I'm kind
that's
of,
because you're
kind of like Kyle said. That's because I'm a what?
That's because you're a lay down.
I'm a total lay down.
That is because
I'm a total lay down. By the way,
that's messed up, Michael.
No,
dang.
Most car
I'm a lay down too. Most salespeople are lay downs, right?
Car people are the worst. We're terrible at it.
Or the best.
Or the best.
I happen to think I'm the best.
Oh man, Alan, I think you've stumped us. You've encouraged us. You've given us something to think about, and the fact that you called your shot at age 4 is just really cool story. So thanks again for hanging out with us, and thanks for joining us here on Auto Collabs today.
Pleasure. Hey, Paul, can I do this little quiz for you?
Okay, we'll let you do the quiz. Do the quiz. Go.
Okay,
hit him with
so you guys know I'm huge into sports uniforms. It's one of the things I told you guys.
All right.
And
by the way, he's sporting a crazy hat. You have to watch the show to see it.
There you go. You got to tune in. So the big thing that I'm into, the niche for sports uniforms, is what I call uniform cameos, which is basically a super famous guy who played at the end of their career or the beginning of their career for another team. So think like Jordan with the Wizards, or Akeem Olajuwon finished his career at the Raptors.
Favre got it.
So as an Eagles fan, Paul, you need to recognize this Rams jersey as one of the most interesting uniform cameos that you should possibly know about. You're a huge football fan. I know who you're a fan of.
This is going way back.
The one hint I'll give you is that this guy made this cameo at the start of his career and not the end of his career.
Oh,
did he have the same number?
Different number.
Ron Jaworski?
Yeah!
No! Stop! Stop! Quit on it now. And with that, I will never be back in one of these podcasts again. You'll never see me.
Unbelievable. That just blew my mind.
Alan, you're a true hero. Paul crushed it. Hey, thanks for listening. If you're listening along, some Auto Collabs.
Okay, I think it's only appropriate that after that win, I'm putting this Eagles jersey on.
For all of the audio people, it looks like an Eagles jersey.
It is an Eagles jersey because I can't believe I nailed the trivia. I thought I was going to be outed.
That blew my mind. I about fell out of my chair. That was so impressive.
Every once in a while, I get it.
The other piece that's so shocking to me is, and granted, there's still an element of like, I kind of loosely found my way in the industry, but so many people in our industry is like, never even thought of this whole car thing. I just tripped and fell into it. And Alan's like, no, as a kid, I was lining cars up. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I was focused.
Such a cool
There's so much story. I mean, we could have a whole other podcast, just a discussion between the three of us about the implication of what he said, because for the longest time, I'm like, there's a marketing conversation there, which is car dealers, marketing companies or agencies spend majority of the budget telling the public what the public already knows that they do. We sell cars. And he's the proof point to that thesis right there, that as a kid, as a toddler, he's like, I'm going to play car dealership.
Yep.
I'm going to sell cars.
Brand build all the way down. Like, kids want to be soccer players, football players, and firefighters. They should want to be car dealers too.
I just had an idea.
I love it. What's that?
I love it. We need to develop a board game.
Oh.
And you can
Boarding cars.
Nathan, our producer's back there. Like,
He's already built it.
I'm not a fan of board games, but I'd be a fan of this board game. And you can have like fun. The hazard ones, right? Like you get the.
This is going to be so. This is going to be so easy. We're going to GPT out of our GPT board game because we already know. And then all of a sudden we're going to 3D printer. We're going to print that thing. It'll be the one and we'll put it on Kickstarter. And then just wait for our Kickstarter, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I think, in that, since this came up on this podcast, we were inspired by Alan. I think he needs a special role in it. Like, I don't know if he's like going to be like the Monopoly man.
He should be the director of OEM relationships.
He should be. He's got an experience with that. In collaboration with TrueCar. We're not trying to hire anybody from anybody. Just so you know.
Wow.
Just so you know. Well, look, I think we've done enough damage here today on behalf of Kyle Mountsier, Michael Cirillo, and myself. Thank you as always for joining us on Auto Collabs.
Welcome to Auto Collabs.
Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?